it's obvious that I felt like talking about love this morning. I was so excited, and I thought I looked it up on UWM's website, but sometimes things get crossed. And so we're talking about love this morning, because I don't have my peace message ready yet. So thank you. And as we talk about love, as you can see up there, love is a verb. Love is not a noun, although it can be used as a noun. Love is not an adjective, although it can be used as an adjective. But love is a verb. And what I want to share with you this morning are some ideas, some stories about love and how action is part of what love is. That if we love without action, I'm not really sure we're loving. If we love with condition, we're loving, but it has limits to it. When we love unconditionally, we really bring out the joy in life, we bring out peace, and we experience love in such a way that it moves our hearts and our minds and our souls. And so this morning, as we start off, I want to just share the first story. And it's the greatest gift for joy. Now, this story reminds me of myself so much because of the way it's framed. And so I'm going to kind of tell it in the first person. And I get so excited about Christmas. It's ridiculous. I mean, I feel like a 10-year-old all over again. And I remember when I was 10. Because when I was 10, I used to go to my grandparents' house on Christmas Eve. Now, the reason we went there on Christmas Eve is because my grandfather could not wait to open the gifts until Christmas Day. And, of course, he was the one who would hand them out. And so I remember one particular Christmas where we actually had snow on the ground. That was pretty exciting, a white Christmas. And we drove across the James River Bridge, which is 5 miles in length from Newport News to Portsmouth, Virginia. And we did this every Christmas. And I don't know how we did it, but my grandmother had a 2-bedroom house, and we had like 8 people, and we all spent the night together and celebrated together. But one of the things that I really did enjoy was the anticipation of what my present would be. I mean, I was 10 years old, and that's what I was looking forward to. And so what happened is that I went into the house, and the first thing that the children did, and there were 5 of us in the family at that time, is go to find out where our gifts were. And we went, of course, under the Christmas tree. And I looked around, and my name wasn't on a gift. I'm going, what in the world? Maybe I'm not going to get a gift this year. I was getting all uptight. And emotionally showing it like a 10-year-old. Little tears coming down. I might not get a gift for Christmas. This won't be a good Christmas. But anyway, across the room, I spied another gift. And I went over and had my name on it. It was so big. And I could hardly wait. But Granddaddy had his way of handing out gifts. And it was slow. I mean, unbearably slow. And finally, after all the aunts and uncles and my mother and dad, the kids were last. And I was the oldest kid, so I was the last one. So you may know what that's like. You're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and here's this huge gift. I mean, big. And I just knew it was going to be the perfect gift for me. And I opened it up. Now, I got a question for you. What do you think is inside what is the perfect gift inside of a big, big box? Pardon? Okay. Next. Anybody? A pony. Wrong. And in that day and time, you didn't get an iPhone, anything like that. Well, whatever gift we get at Christmas is the perfect gift. And that's what I learned from that experience. That we can find the perfect gift in every part of life, especially during Christmas time, especially during the time of love. Now, the next story I have is a story about an accident that took place close to Christmas. Okay, we need to come up a couple times here, please. Slides. Okay, the next one. There we go. Love creates family. Not what you expect to see, is it? Well, what happened is that John Moore was driving down the street, and a car came out of the side street and struck him. He was okay, but the person driving the car, Zeke Sablian was killed. And it was only it was in November, so not far from Christmas, but not quite Christmas. And then the other person in the car, and I don't know who it was injured and had to go to the hospital. And what happened for John Moore was that he felt so guilty, even though the accident wasn't his fault. He could not get over it. And the most wonderful thing happened. Zeke's parents reached out to his family, to his mom and dad, and wanted to know if they could visit with him. And they wanted to make sure there wasn't any problem. And she said, we just want to bless him. He didn't do anything wrong, and we know that. And we're not going to hold a grudge or have any anger. And so they got together. And as they got together, they started to bond together. They had mutual understanding. They prayed together. They talked together. They talked about the loss. They talked about what had happened and that it was really nobody's fault. It was an accident. And as they did that, they took John, Zeke's parents took John really into their, treated him like family. And the two families blended together. And then about 3 weeks later, they had a celebration service, and John walked down with Zeke's parents. They really reached out to love each other. And what happened was, over the years, John could not fill the void totally that his parents felt, but he filled it partially because they just about adopted him as one of their own. Isn't it wonderful what love can do when we really love unconditionally and we see things in the right perspective? And so that's what happened and how love creates a family. And then the next one comes up is the gift. There we go. The gift that lasted a lifetime. I kind of like this story. This is a story about a fellow from Wisconsin, young boy from Wisconsin. And one of the things that happened was that he was able to buy a bike. Now, he bought it from a Catholic priest. And the problem, he said, with the bike was it looked like a Catholic priest bike. It didn't have any cards along the spokes. It didn't have a fancy seat. It was black, and it was dull-colored bike. And it wasn't anything you really were proud of, but he was proud of it because he was purchasing. He had saved up $60 over the summer from doing the lawns. And so he bought the bike for $120. His dad put in $60, and he put in $60. And what happened was during the winter, as you know, it snows here, right? And what happened for this young man is he was able to get extra money from the extra snows that were coming in. And so he was able to pay his dad off, who financed the $60 with that agreement, before Christmas. And he was so proud that he owned his own bike and he could go anywhere he wanted to go. He said it was like having a car without an engine, and that he had the freedom to experience his hometown. Let's just say Verona, because that's where I'm staying, and experience it in such a way that it was different than anything he ever experienced before. He was not limited. He was unlimited because of the bike. Well, Christmas came, as I said, and what happened is that, again, this is a fairly large family, and he said his dad was very patient by remarking about each gift that was coming to the child and remarking about the gifts of the child. But he was the oldest, so he had to wait. And when it got to be his turn, His sister had just gotten some pajamas. That's the kind of gifts they give, you know. And so he was waiting for his gift. And this time he got a used RCA Victrola. Is that right? Yeah. I haven't said that word in so long, I'd fucking know what it was. Anyway, and he was so excited because, you see, they used to fight over who was going to listen to the stereo that they owned. The one in the whole family. Now he had his own. And he was so excited about this. But that excitement didn't last too long. Because what happened is that his father said to his sister, I've got something special for the oldest sister in the family. Just about a year younger than him. And what happened is that he said, I got something special for it. And he wheels in a brand new Schwinn bike for a girl. Brand new. Now, this young man got pretty upset. I just spent $120 of my money that I earned hard to get a bike. And she gets one for free. So he takes the Victrola and he pushes her aside, hoping his dad might notice. And then he only moped for a week. And finally his dad said, son, what's your problem? You can share it with me. He said, well, you know, Daddy, I got a Victrola and I worked hard for my bike and it's a used bike and you gave her a brand new Schwinn. How could you do that? He said, well, I didn't give it to her, I gave it to you. And just walked away. And he thought about that. He said, well, that's silly. He gave it to her, but he told me he gave it to me. Well, what happened is that the daughter and the son, together, were very good friends. And they really developed a relationship. Now that she had a bike, she couldn't keep up with him all the time, but she had a bike, they went everywhere together. Everywhere together. And then as they grew up and they started to learn to drive together, they shared a car together. And then they went to college together. And then they each met somebody and they had a double wedding together. And he said, wow. He was thinking about that bike. And he said, I now understand what Dad meant. He gave me the gift of my sister. And he remembered that every Christmas, rather than a negative, but as a positive. And finding the love that Christmas has for all of us. Now, the next story I want to share with you is one called Christmas Flowers. That will come up here in a second. And Christmas Flowers is a story that I read a while back. Here we are, Christmas Flowers, okay. And what would happen is that this couple had been married for 62 years. And the husband passed away. And for 62 years, he had sent her a bouquet of flowers every Christmas Eve. And he passed away in February. And as Christmas approached, she was like kind of heartbroken, of course, and missed him very much. And then that Christmas Eve day, somebody knocked on the door, and here were these bouquet of flowers from her husband. And she said, well, I guess he must have ordered them a year in advance. And so she was just touched and with joy, and that he thought about her. Next Christmas, a year later, Christmas Eve, the delivery person knocks at the door and brings to her another bouquet of flowers from her husband. What she found out was that her husband had actually set up a small trust fund to always send her flowers. Now, don't get used to this, Vicki. Always sent her flowers as long as she lived for Christmas Eve. What a beautiful, wonderful gift. Now, guys, I don't know how big a hint I can give you. Okay? You know. So anyway, that was the Christmas flower story, and it touched my heart. And then the next slide here says, love is not seasonal. Experience love all year long. You know, we really do teach about the love of the Christ, the love that Jesus exhibited. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. He didn't stop with neighbors. And when we think we have an enemy, what we really need to do to change that is to see through their stuff, see through the issues that we are putting on them, and step into that place where we see the love in them. We see them as the Christ that they are. We embrace them as the Christ that they are. Even when it hurts sometimes. That way, we celebrate Christmas all year long. A Christmas of love. Thank you. Now, Pete. Okay. Meditation? Meditation song? Thank you. To bless you, to hold you, and to lead you into this time of experiencing the Christ within. You are that Christ. You are that love. You are the peace, and you are the joy. And as you sit in this moment, know that you are safe. It's now in this moment, in this now moment, that we each feel the calmness, the peace and the love, which brings us into joy. So just breathe comfortably. Listen to your breathing. Feel the pulse. And what you are feeling is life itself. And now allow yourself to open up to each and every person around you. And allow the Spirit within you to embrace the Spirit within each person here, each person online, each person in your family. Feel that energy. That's love. Love is powerful. Love is healing. Love is everything and creates everything. And if you or a loved one is experiencing any kind of disease, physically or emotionally, bless them with your Spirit. Bless them with your love. Bless them and feel the blessings coming back into your heart, into that heart space. Feel the love. Feel the light. Because you are that light and you are that love. And so we sit in a moment experiencing all that is. And so it is. Amen.